listening to AstroDetectives, where longtime friends Scott and Sarah try to debunk
or prove
the ancient practice of astrology.
I'm Sarah Hartshorn, the astrologer.
And I'm Scott Randall, the skeptic. Each episode, I'll give Sarah two natal charts. One chart matches the exact moment of birth for our mystery guest, and the other is just a red herring.
I'll use astrology to detect which chart belongs to our guest. And with a little help from my underground network of AstroDetectives, this case is as good as solved.
Oh, we'll see about that. Welcome to AstroDetectives, the only podcast on the internet where we have astrologers and one lonely skeptic, and we're here to determine how effective is astrology. Sarah, how effective is astrology?
I mean, effective? Astrology works, Scott. I've been trying to tell you that, but we're trying. You want to do this experiment instead of just studying it.
Studying something can lead to confirmation bias. You start to see the things you're looking for. But here we got a nice A-B comparison. If the charts lead in the right direction, we're going to know which one of these birth charts belongs to our guest. Before then, we have big announcement, though. We're finally on YouTube. I don't know if listeners can become viewers.
Yes.
Go over to youtube.com/@sign, like the ampersand, or no, not ampersand, but the @ symbol, AstroDetectives. That's where we are. I noticed there's some other AstroDetectives.
And just to clarify, it's still just the audio. It won't be video, but even though you're technically a viewer, like you were saying. But
for now.
Yeah.
One of these days, we're gonna get all of our little green screens working with our backgrounds. Sarah's got a great background, but mine was not working today. So we got to work out those kinks. And then maybe we'll show you our faces in these little interviews. But we're not ready yet. We're still working on getting camera ready. Yeah,
I'll have to start, doing makeup at that point.
But people ask me, how can I find this podcast? I can't find it. And they have YouTube open. And I realize so many people are listening to shows now just on YouTube. And what a great universal platform. So we might as well be there anyway.
Yeah, you got to get your podcast on YouTube if you want to be found, I guess.
Even if it takes 4 times as long to export these files, because now they're video files.
I don't want to hear about it. Let me just tell you what I do for the case files. That takes me at least an hour.
I opened up, speaking of the case files, everybody can go to astrodetectivespod.com, download the case files for this episode. This is episode 43, and you can see which astrology charts our astrologers are looking at today to try to match with the guest. But yeah, I opened one of those and I thought, okay, here's 1 and 2. Oh my gosh, all these transits are going crazy in here.
Yeah, and it's like this thing where, okay, so as people know, we don't publish the birth data for these people, for our guests. Maybe we can consider doing that if guests are open to it in the future, but because we're not posting their birth data, I feel like I need to pull all the transit charts and provide those to people, listening. And so that takes quite a bit of time to do that in whole sign and in Placidus, So anyway.
If all the astrologers could just agree on one system, that would cut half of your work out.
Oh, you don't even want to open that.
Let's open the can of worms.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to try and start doing the record at the beginning of the episode, because that is why we're here. We're running an experiment and we love to do the record. So this is our 43rd episode. So after 42 episodes, we've got 67 choices that astrologers have made between 2 charts, and 39 of them have been correct. So you're sitting at a 58% win rate, I should say.
58.5.
Well, that's as of episode 41, but we're episode 43 now.
That's right.
So after episode 42, which was a split, it was a 50-50 between astrologers. We're now down to 58 point nothing.
Okay, yeah, sorry, I was looking at old news. Yeah, 58 point. Well, I don't like the nothing. 58%. Okay. You know what? We are going to, I'm still confident, like we're doing a lot better this season. And yeah, so I'm optimistic as usual.
Of course. I can see it in your chart.
Yeah, you can. It's at Jupiter and Leo on my descendant conjunct Mercury. Anyway.
But you don't have to do it alone, Sarah. You've got help every episode. And who's helping you this time?
Oh boy, I am so glad for the help. And we have another excellent astrologer with us today who I met at NORWAC up in Seattle last month. And she is a evolutionary astrologer. She's been practicing astrology for 6 years, and she's from Kansas City, Missouri. Erin Stark, welcome to AstroDetectives.
Hello, great to be here.
Awesome. I'm so happy to have you here. And I just want to say that I've told you this before, but I met you because I was going to eat lunch by myself and I'm just standing there awkwardly. And I look around and you and another astrologer, Judith, were waving at me and smiling. And I'm like, am I supposed to know these people? Who do they recognize me? And no, you were just inviting me to sit with you. And that was so sweet and so kind. And then we just had the best lunch ever. So I appreciate that.
It was so fun.
Yeah. Yeah. So happy to have you here. And yeah. I'm excited.
And you guys had a chance to look at 2 different birth charts in preparation. Now, these painted a picture of 2 different people, I'm imagining, and we're kind of curious, what are the main differences you're going to be looking for with our guest when they arrive?
Yeah, okay. So we've got today a Capricorn sun who has a Capricorn moon, and they have a Leo rising. And then we have a Sagittarius sun with a Aquarius moon and a Cancer rising. And so for me, like one of the main things that I will be looking for is our Capricorn person. I feel like they could potentially have a career doing some sort of like coaching work or welfare or in the medicine, something along those lines, kind of like similar to one of our last guests. And yeah, I feel like that could be something I'll be looking for. And then our Sagittarius chart. So I don't know. I had a harder time like figuring out what they might do for a living, maybe teaching or something along those lines. But I feel like the main thing with the Sagittarius chart is I feel like money and material resources might be a little bit of a challenge for them to generate the wealth that they're trying to generate early on. I feel like over time that things could get easier for them, but they might have a lot of early life struggles around that topic. And then just visually, I feel like the Capricorn Leo rising person might, when we see them, might present themselves a little bit more stoic and maybe have more of an authoritative vibe. We'll try to do our best to describe that to the audience. And then our Cancer person could be a little bit more protective and shy, just in their body language. So, Erin, is there anything that you'll be looking for in differences between these?
Yeah, I'm listening for any mention of daily habits or routines, health habits, things like that, to see what sort of focus they've got there. Also, like practicality versus optimism kind of viewpoints coming through.
Yes. Yeah. And yeah, both of these charts have a 6th house sun and other planets in the 6th house. So this is definitely a 6th house person, which can relate to really someone who probably has a specific routine or maybe specific in that they like it to be different all the time, but like routine and then maybe working in a capacity where they're really focused on serving other people in some type of way. But like
one of these is going to be more that.
No. I'm just saying that they both have a sixth house sun, and the sixth house is about service to others. It's also about like your health. And so sometimes people with a lot of emphasis in their sixth house, they either are a very healthy person or they've had health challenges, but health tends to be a big theme around that.
Well, we got to focus on differences. We're here to get to the bottom of what separates these people. We're here to separate, not unite.
So basically, the difference will be whether the health concerns are more Capricorn-esque or more Sagittarian-esque. So that's what we'll be listening for.
And astrologers listening will know what that means.
Yes.
Scott is not sure what that means.
Yeah.
But
it's
luckily for this show, Scott doesn't have to.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, we will look forward to seeing which one of those two charts is waiting for us in the waiting room. Anything to add before we come back from commercial break with our guest?
I don't think so. Astrology rules.
Astrology rules. Who am I kidding? It's fun. Otherwise, I wouldn't be here. I don't have to believe it, though. All right. We'll see you guys right after this with our guest and see which chart belongs to them.
Hey, Astro Detective listeners, this is your resident astrologer, Sarah Hartshorn, and I wanted to let you know about my coaching practice called My Cosmic Coach, where I offer natal astrology readings, human design readings, and a whole lot more. And right now, for fans of the AstroDetectives podcast, I'm offering $25 off my signature one-on-one coaching session. This is a holistic approach I developed that will guide you through any kind of decision you're trying to make or challenge you're navigating, where we're going to consult both your human design and astrology charts and even pull a few cards too. And you'll walk away with really clear, really practical and actionable advice that is aligned and specific just to you. So head on over to mycosmiccoach.com and use promo code AstroDetectives at checkout when you book a one-on-one coaching session with me. That's mycosmiccoach.com.
Welcome back, everybody. We're here with our guest this week. Welcome to AstroDetectives, Manny.
Hello, everybody.
We're here to get to know you as well as we can and see if your personality directs the astrologers in one direction or the other. A new place that we start. This is the first week, but can you kind of describe what you're wearing and if you have any tattoos?
Okay. Currently wearing just some basic shorts and a long sleeve black shirt. Oh, is that a focus? I have 0 tattoos.
All right. And that's, I guess, because based on comfort level or whatever with clothing, you never know what would show up in somebody's chart.
Yeah.
But that's nice and easy. No tattoos. We'll skip right on.
Never had any desire to get one.
All right. Can you kind of talk about work history? What do you do? What have you always kind of been good at? Are there some themes that run through your type of work, or what keeps you busy?
Well, actually, for the majority of my working career, I usually work my way up into usually a management type of position. I have owned my own business. I owned it for about 10 years, and sadly, I had to shut it down as we had a little kind of like mini recession here in Canada. Not a full one, but it did affect my business, and I had to sadly close it down after 9.5 years. And
what did you do? What was the business?
I owned a tanning salon.
Oh, okay.
Yep. I absolutely loved it. It was an absolutely enjoyable industry to work in because everybody that comes in wants to be there. And then when they leave, they're even happier. So in the 9.5 years I was there, I barely had any like upset customers. So it's a very positive work environment, and I miss it terribly.
Now I'm in Southern California and we get a lot of sun here, but I can see maybe in Canada, a tanning salon would be an opportunity for people to get a little bit of sun when they're missing it.
Yes. Yeah. Very busy throughout the winter months. And then a lot of people getting ready to go on trips to get their skin acclimated to stronger UV light. So that was the majority of our customers.
Can I ask what inspired you to start that business or get into tan?
I actually got a job while I was working at another job. I was very unhappy, and I had run into a lady that owned a tanning salon here in town, and we had become friends at a previous job I'd worked at. And she mentioned that she was opening up a new store and was looking for help. And I said, that sounds like a lot of fun. So I worked for her for about 2 years, fell in love with the industry, and then had an opportunity to open my own with 3 business partners. But as the project moved along, each one had to drop out for various reasons. So I ended up doing it on my own.
Okay.
With help. I didn't do everything by myself. My parents helped me with some stuff, and I had a lot of friends chip in with their time and energy to help me get it set up. But yeah, I was the sole owner of it.
And what do you like the most about what you've done, and what was sort of maybe the areas where you had an issue and you're like, I don't like this part of work?
In regards to all jobs I've had, or that one in particular?
In general. What are you drawn to, and what do you like to kind of avoid? And you notice I don't like that.
I've mostly enjoyed jobs where I can either kind of work on my own or I have a little bit more autonomy. I do tend to lean towards more of a management style. I usually end up working my way up through companies to end up becoming usually a manager or an assistant manager, something like that. I've always enjoyed and haven't shied away from taking a leadership role. I do enjoy, for most of my career, I've always enjoyed working with people and working with customers. My current job, I'm actually not dealing with customers at all. And it's very different. I'm still enjoying it, but it's a very different type of job for me. And
can you say what kind of job that is?
I currently work for a water filtration company. I build water filtration systems and then package them and ship them out. So the only people I'm working with are my coworkers in the warehouse itself. I have very minimal contact with any customers unless they're there to pick it up, and that contact is minimal. So my social skills are not being utilized for this job. It's more of just a working with others and just getting some stuff done.
Well, water filtration is going to be super important in the years going forward.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
And what you don't like about some of the jobs that you've been in, anything that you've noticed, that's not for me.
Honestly, I think there's not a lot of jobs that I didn't really like that much. And if I didn't like them, I left them pretty quick. Usually the only things I didn't like was I either had to leave for financial reasons where it wasn't quite meeting the financial requirements I needed at the time, or I was butting heads with the management above me. But even then, with that one that's kind of sticking on my mind, I was transferred to another location because the owner of the company didn't want to lose me. And while me and the manager were not getting along, he moved me to a different store so he didn't lose me completely.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's nice. Your valuable asset.
Yeah, it was nice. It made me feel very much appreciated that the owner at that time was not willing to lose me, even though I was having problems with a manager that he had hired. But that owner, his name is Randy. He was like a father to me. He was a very important person in my life, and really kind of, I would say probably like my first mentor that I could think of. It was kind of shortly after that, he really kind of took me under his wing, and it was kind of that job was like my first quote unquote like real job. And he really showed me what it's like to treat your employees well, what it's like to run a business. He really, at a young age, really put a lot of responsibility on me to see how I could handle it. And if I did well, then he would give me some more. And I really, I owe him a lot. And I was happy to be able to tell him that to his face a few times.
That's always good. And to mention him here.
Yes, of course.
How would your friends describe you if they were talking about, oh, Manny, he's like this? What do you think they would say?
The greatest quote that describes me perfectly, that everyone loves the most, is from one of my best friends. His name is Gino, and he has always said that Manny is the nicest asshole I've ever met. Most of my friends would probably say that I am incredibly loyal. I am a lot of fun to spend time with. I have no problem kind of taking charge of situations to facilitate any type of activity. If something kind of needs to get done, like if there's a road trip or anything like that, I'm most of the time the one kind of doing that, taking charge. And at the same time, if I'm not happy about something, I don't hide it very well. Everyone pretty much knows if I'm not a fan of something. I don't try to really hide my displeasure. While I'm not a complete, utter asshole, I like to think, at times I know I can be a little blunt. And I try not to mince words. I have gotten a lot better as time has progressed. I used to be a lot more in your face and blunt, and now I think I can coat it a little bit more with a little bit more sugar and a little bit more understanding that a lot of people don't like to hear the hard truths.
And when you're going through some of those, like say you're upset about, well, I'm not happy about how this trip is going, or any sort of like difficult emotions, can you talk about how you process those? Do you keep them bottled up? Or you were saying you let them out, you tell people about it, or can you kind of describe that process?
Yeah, it's for the most part, the funny thing is that really big things I can usually keep contained and don't let them overwhelm me, and can usually find a way to work through them. It's small, tiny things that can set me off into what one of my other best friends, T-Bone, likes to call, I get thin-lipped. I guess my lips, when I'm really upset, get very thin. I should try and get a picture of it sometime. So small, tiny things that are, in all honesty, inconsequential to the big picture are what set me off. Whereas a big catastrophe, a major obstacle or something like that doesn't really affect me at all. I just kind of sit down. I just work my way through it to best work around it or to adapt to that. So big things don't bug me. Little things raise the hair on the back of my neck.
Interesting. Were you always like that? Like childhood growing up? What was childhood like?
Childhood was great. I had a really great childhood growing up. I was mostly raised by my mother. I got to see my dad anytime I wanted. They split up when I was about just before I was 2, and it was just me and my mom until my teenage years, when we moved in with my stepfather. And then my stepfather has 4 children from his previous marriage. So I went from being an only child to having 4 sisters. And while most of the time, a lot of my friends and other people I've known have had a problem with blended families, I'm happy to say that me and my 4 sisters have gotten along really well throughout our lives. There's any time, in all honesty, any problems I've ever had with my sisters, 99% is because I was being a jerk. But I get along with them really well. I'm still close to them. I talk to them fairly regularly. I had a really good childhood. I got really lucky. A lot of people, when they get into a blended family, it doesn't go well. There's lots of problems. They don't get along with their step siblings, or they don't get along with their stepfather or stepmother. Not the case with me at all. I had a very great childhood.
And go ahead, Sarah.
I just want to ask, so when you were growing up, what things did you like to do? And was there something that you were like, I want to be this when I grow up?
When I was younger, I wanted to be a teacher, but I really only wanted to be a teacher because you got summers off. That was literally the only thing I thought about. And I pursued it in my 1 year of university. But it was during that year that I had also I was with that job I spoke about earlier with Randy, and it was at that same time that he promoted me to an assistant manager. And the money at that time was really good for my age, and so I just abandoned school and focused on that career. And I had actually every opportunity to really grow with that company, but opted out kind of almost on a whim after a certain amount of time. Oh, sorry, Sarah, go ahead.
Oh, I was just getting at, can you talk about like what your passions and interests were when you were a kid?
When I was a kid, it's a funny thing that my main passion basically from a very young age has always been movies. I've always loved film. I've been almost to the point of obsessed would be an almost proper term. I love movies. I love the escape that they provide. I love the art form. It is something I absolutely adore. And I've been that way for quite a long time. I'd say, even just before my teen years, roughly, would be a good place. But in my mid-teens is when it really took off. And then there is a certain time that things really took off, but that would kind of reveal some things that we decided that we should try not to reveal. So there was a major occurrence in a part of my life a film that changed my life, but that would reveal a time frame.
Okay. But is there a reason why, did you ever want to work in the movie business?
Yeah, I did. I also, as I got a little bit older, I thought about going into the film business, but I had no desire to leave my home city. I have a really great family. I have a really, really great collection of friends here that are like family to me. I think I have I value friendship so high because during my teenage years, I was an only child with a single working mother. So I had a lot of time for myself. So I was given a lot of responsibility at a young age. My mom gave me the responsibility that after school, she trusted me with our home by myself as a young man. And so if you're a young boy who has an empty house, all of your friends are going to come over because there's no parents there. But I didn't take advantage of that. We basically, hung out, played board games, played video games, played tag in the basement, anything. It was just fun because there was no parents there to yell at you if you did something wrong. So I was given a lot of responsibility, and I took that responsibility seriously because I knew if I didn't mess it up, I would continue to get it. Where if I made a mistake or if I took advantage of it, it could be taken away, and I didn't want that. I really enjoyed sports, but I never really played at a very high competitive level because I wasn't interested enough to increase my skill level to get there. But I always enjoyed I did enjoy the competitive nature of sports, and I always enjoyed it. It wasn't until in my 20s I got into some competitive sports that I took to a fairly high level. Well, I'll be honest, I took it to a pretty high level. And then
what sports?
It was mostly ball hockey, which is just hockey played on a full hockey court, except there's no ice. You're just running just with a ball instead of a puck.
Do we call that lacrosse here? Or is
lacrosse is a completely different sport.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do we have ball hockey here? I never hear about that in the States.
It's nothing professional. It's just, it's not like I never got paid for it, but I did play in 3 national champienships. I have quite a few provincial championships and a couple Western Canadian championships as well. While it does sound impressive, believe me, it was my team. I was just a role player. I was not one of the stars on the team, but I absolutely love that. That team was very much a family. 3 of my closest best friends, that's where I met them, was playing on that team. And still to this day, it still means a lot. A lot of the close friends and important people in my life all came from playing ball hockey. And So I gave that up a little while ago, and I got into, I've always been into playing softball, which I enjoy. Allows me to play a sport, but my competitive nature is dissipated. I like to just go out and have some fun, still try to win a little bit, but I don't have the overwhelming desire to destroy the enemy anymore. It's just more about just having a good time and hanging out with people I like.
Moving on to romantic partners. Are you married or with a partner now?
No, I'm currently single. I am divorced. I've been divorced for a while now. I have a really great relationship with my ex-wife. We do share. We have a child together that we co-parent. I am very lucky, again, in regards to that me and my ex-wife have a really great, very amicable relationship. We can talk about anything. We do share. We do spend a few of the, not the major holidays, but the minor holidays together, so we can all be together. So we've spent every Halloween together, and currently single, not interested in dating. I'm really kind of enjoying my life right now. I'm more interested in doing the things that I enjoy and helping raise my daughter. And I'm not really willing to give up the stuff that I'm doing to make time for a partner. So yeah, happily single.
Can you kind of describe your ex-wife a little bit? Just, who she is, what attracted you to her?
Mm-hmm. I met her. She was actually a client at the tanning salon, and that's how we met. She's incredibly caring. She's really grown as a person since I've met her. And one of the things I do admire about her, she now is able to stand up more for herself. When I did first meet her, she was kind of allowing her family to kind of almost use her like a doormat, and it really hurt my heart to see someone that was so caring and so giving kind of be taken advantage of. And thankfully, as she has gotten older as well, she has started to grow as a person, and so now she no longer allows that to happen. She's really standing firm. She is very caring, very concerned about making sure that everything's taken care of. She really, really, really loves to celebrate the holidays. Like Christmas is her time to shine. She makes Christmas amazing for everybody. She tries her best to really make that holiday stand out. And I always admire her for that. She is really great as well at organizing everything. So when we have to, my daughter is in, she's a dancer, and she's in some competitive dance. And so she's always organizing things with that to make sure that we can all get to where the competition is and stuff like that. She's got a great sense of humor. She is very intelligent and very organized. I have nothing but the utmost respect for her.
And you mentioned your daughter. Is she, describing her personality, what kind of kid is she?
Oh, she is amazing. As every parent says about their own child, of course. She just brings me nothing but joy. She is so incredibly sympathetic and empathetic. She really cares how people feel. One of the things I absolutely love about her the most, and I tell her that ad nauseum, is she is so incredibly polite, and it just makes me so happy that anytime anybody does something for her, she says thank you. She says please. She's always making sure that others are being taken care of. She's really great with younger kids, and she's always so welcoming and warming. She's just absolutely the light of my life.
Moving on to the subject of money and debt, what's your relationship to money like? Does it come in quickly, or do you and go quickly, or do you save it and spend on big things only? What does that subject make you think of?
It's money I've always had a bit of a problem with in regards to, I actually do have a hard time saving money. I'm always kind of not quite impulse buying, but I prefer to buy the little things that make me happy instead of saving up for the big things that would make me happy. Like I said, my love for movies, I've had a growing movie collection through my whole life. So I could I could turn the camera around, I could show you the roughly 1,100 Blu-rays on my wall, right over there.
All
Plus,
in Blu-ray. There we go.
yeah. Plus I have collector's editions of some of them, limited collector's editions of some of the movies. So I've always gotten a joy out of purchasing, like just purchasing a movie makes me happy instead of, if I look at my shelves, I'm like, that could have been probably about 4 vacations I could have taken easily. But that's a thing. I have always had trouble saving money. Thankfully, never in too much of a financial burden where it's been a problem. But I wish I could say I was good with money, but I am sadly not.
Well, sometimes it's good to know what makes you happy.
Yeah.
Like when you said, "Oh, I like the small things. I like little small things here and there," rather than just like waiting and waiting and waiting to be able to spend on something big.
Yeah.
As far as health goes, anything in particular that you've found especially challenging with health, and if there's any self-care kind of routines or whatever you found helpful?
I haven't had any major health problems my whole life. I've been fairly healthy, mostly because of a fairly active lifestyle. Well, in all honesty, a major contributing factor is that I have actually never drank alcohol in my life, and I've never used any type of drugs. I have had a few sips of beer and champagne after our team would win a championship. I would take a sip out of the cup for the guys. They always love that. But I've led a fairly healthy lifestyle in regards to that. On the flip side, I have a very bad sweet tooth. So candy is my best friend, much to my dismay. So I haven't had in regards to self-care, I did go through a bout of depression a little while ago. I thought I could handle it myself. I couldn't. So I did go in to see a counselor and went to therapy for about 2 years or so. That really helped me. And since then, I've been fine. She helped give me the tools and everything I need to notice or keep an eye open for any triggers that may bring back those feelings. And I feel absolutely fine now. So no problems there. Health, like physical wise, no major issues.
Even with all the sports, no big injuries or anything?
No,
Wow.
The only injury I have, this little pinky here, that's the most I can bend it. That's it. And that was an accident. And the only reason I can't bend it is I didn't take the rehab seriously. I did not do what my therapist said I should do to get back full use of it, and now it's locked that way.
There we go. Sarah, you were leaning forward like you had a question.
Oh, yeah. Are you comfortable sharing anything about what the source of your depression was?
Yeah, I can. Yeah. The thing is, I don't think the therapist and I ever found the actual true root of what caused it. From my recollection of it, it was a very slow progression into depression. The depression I had was never the one where I was thinking about self-harming, but it was causing a lot of problems mentally and emotionally. I lacked any type of anger control. So the things that would never set me off before would set me off, and I would fly into a fit of rage. And that because I was kind of so overwhelmed with the depression I had, I didn't notice that I had become different, that I had lost my ability to facilitate those feelings. And through therapy, I was able to recognize and work my way through it. I did go on antidepressants for quite a while, and then was slowly weaned off them, and I've been off them for quite a while now. No need to go back. I don't think we ever really uncovered the root of the depression. I think we were kind of more concerned about trying to find the way for me to get back to an even keel. And then through therapy, I really truly can't think of what the root was, but everything seems to be. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, was there any changes you implemented in your life that made it different? That got you out of that?
I think what it was is growing up most of my life, any type of problem I had internally, I would deal with myself. And I think maybe part of the problem was that it just, over the course of my life, it grew up and I could no longer contain it. So through therapy, I realized, and it was, there actually even happened kind of before therapy. I had a event happen in my life that devastated me emotionally. And it was even prior to my divorce, which obviously wasn't very fun either. Every time you go through something, your friends or people will say, or you'll even say yourself, if you need anything, I'll be there for you. And I've always found that a lot of people will never reach out and take up that offer. And when this event occurred to me, I'm like, I don't think I can handle this on myself. So I am going to take up those offers. And thankfully, like I said, I have been very blessed with a lot of people that are amazing. I have a really great collection of friends that were there for me. And so to help me through that, I reached out and I realized that at that point, I don't need to go through things alone. And that the people that really do say, I'll be there. If you need anything, I'll be there. We're actually there. They followed through on that. And so it allowed me to move past that event in my life. And then sadly, when my depression hit, I didn't take that same advice I didn't use that same tool to help me through it. And it was a therapy that made me realize that it was okay. When I was diagnosed with depression, I did feel a little shame, the stigma of it. So I was unsure about asking for help. With therapy, I realized I could. And so the same people that helped me out the first time, they were more than happy to help me out again. In fact, some of my best friends are probably major contributing factors on how I was able to work through that depression, and I'll be forever grateful for that.
Are you able to just say, I mean, it sounds like you don't really want to talk about the event. Can you say if it was in regards to loss or violation or betrayal or
yeah, I can definitely talk about it. The only obviously I'll just leave most people, anybody that knows me will know what it is. What it was is that I was to be married, and only a few weeks before the wedding, I did catch my fiance with somebody else.
Okay.
And the person I caught her with was a very close friend. So it was a big act of betrayal and all that. It's a very long, complicated story that would make a very good movie. But on the flip side, everything turned out better for me in the long run anyways. And honestly, for them, because they are still together, those two. I forgave them. I moved on. Everything is fine with that. But at the time, it was pretty hard. But because I was unafraid to ask for help, it wasn't as bad as what it sounds like. I was actually able to recover from that a lot easier than most probably a lot of people would be, because I immediately asked for help from my friends, and they were there from day one.
And this was not obviously, I guess, your ex-wife.
No,
okay.
No, this was a previous partner prior to my wife.
Prior to her. Okay. Got it.
Yeah, if you're gonna find your partner in that situation, you want it to be before the wedding.
Yeah.
Like you said,
yeah.
And you were saying that you weren't asking for help the last time, but in a way, reaching out to a therapist, I think, that counts as searching out help. And that's something a lot of men in particular, I don't think do. They don't feel comfortable recognizing maybe I do need some help, and I'm like professional help. there's only so much your friends are qualified to do. They're great. Can you talk about that decision maybe?
Yeah, actually, it was the depression kind of, in all honesty, the depression is probably, well, it is the major contributing factor that led to my divorce. And my wife and I had a couple problems and things were just not going well. And it was either my wife or my mother-in-law who said, "Do you think you're depressed?" And I'd never considered it. And so I made an appointment with my doctor and went in and I told her, I said, I think I might have depression. And she gave me a form to fill out that had a questionnaire to determine what it was. And I checked off like 90% of the things. Again, thankfully, nothing about self-harm. That never occurred to me, never, but everything else on that depression checkbox, I checked off. And so she gave me, she was the one that, was it her? I'm pretty sure she's the one that recommended some very mild antidepressants and then recommended that I see a therapist. And then when I discussed it with my wife and my family, they all agreed. So that's when I went into therapy. The problem was I still had that male ego and the stigma of depression. I still thought, I'm like, I can get through this without the help. So I didn't take therapy as seriously as I should have. So I still had the depression and wasn't dealing with it properly, which basically led to my divorce. After the divorce, I went back into therapy and took it seriously. And then now I have the tools to be able to recognize any signs or triggers of my depression. So if they ever crop up again, I'll be able to handle them, or I will be able to seek out the help I need, because I will never allow that to get a hold of me again.
Mm-hmm. Looking back on the last 12 months, just the last calendar year from now, what's like the main theme or major events that you kind of stand out in the last 12 months?
Within the last year is when I started my current job. So I left a job to start a new career. This last year, the theme is about having fun, rediscovering myself, enjoying life, enjoying my daughter. That's pretty much it. Having fun.
Yeah, that's a good theme for a year.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Sarah.
What date did you start the job? Do you know?
April something.
Okay.
April of last year.
Got it.
Oh, yeah. Just a little more than a year out.
Yeah, just a little more of a year. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Okay. I can see Sarah doing the math in her head. Last question from me before I hand it over to the astrologers if they have anything. Just any media recommendations? Everything's like recommended by algorithm these days. And I'd love to hear a guest if there's any music, movies, it sounds like especially important to you, TV, books, or even just activities that you would recommend to the audience.
Yeah. With movies, for me, it's all about catering to individual needs. So I always get friends kind of texting me, asking me, "Hey, I need a movie recommendation." For me, it's all about like, what kind of mood are you in? Tell me what kind of mood you're in for a kind of movie, and I'll be able to recommend it that way. But it all depends on what kind of movies you like. I'm always a fan of recommending movies that will either make you feel good or ones that'll make you think. So like my go-to recommendation, if nobody's ever seen it, you have to see The Shawshank Redemption. It is one of the greatest movies ever made. Another great film is Life is Beautiful. It is truly uplifting. I really love the movie Booksmart, which just came out a couple years ago. It is a movie about female friendship. And what I love is that in this movie, unlike a lot of male-centric friendships where they're kind of making fun of each other the whole time, in Booksmart, these two girls are building each other up every chance they get. They're complimenting each other. They are having fun together. It's a coming of age story, but it's all about being best friends and supporting one another instead of, like a lot of guys, it's the way we show affection is to make fun of one another. But what I love about Booksmart is that these two girls are building each other up instead of knocking each other down.
Beautiful.
Books, I don't read a lot of books anymore, and I don't watch too many TV shows because I really pretty much watch 95% of things I watch are movies. But If anybody has Apple TV, I can't recommend Ted Lasso enough. It is another show about positivity. It is about team building. It is about creating a family. It is about supporting the people around you and building a team and a family for the greater good. It's not so much about winning as about winning at life.
And it's a guy who thinks he's invincible from his feelings and has to acknowledge them at a certain, no spoiler alert for later seasons, but
yeah, exactly.
Go ahead.
No, then other than that, yeah, I don't know. We're on a podcast, so people listening to podcasts, keep listening to podcasts, support smaller podcasts.
Yeah.
The smaller, the better.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
Well, that's what I got. Astrologers, are there anything that you were hoping to hear, or any areas you wanted to focus some questions on? Go for it.
Okay, I have a question.
Yeah.
All right, Manny, would you say that in general you have a temper?
I would say no, but only because I feel throughout my life, with the exception when I had depression, I was able to control it. I know that there are things that really upset me, but I don't really show it. You'll be able to tell that I'm upset, but I don't fly off the handle. The only time that happened is when I had depression and I was unable to control that. So I don't feel that I have a temper at all. But it's only because I feel that I'm able to control those emotions enough that they don't overwhelm me and overtake, and I just blurt out angrily. So
what do you think about, are you sometimes harsh under pressure? Like going along fine and then react?
No. The bigger the pressure, the situation, the more calm I become. It's honestly, like, it's kind of creepy. I've had it happen. I worked as a camp counselor for kids at a summer camp. And the one I remember the most, we were doing these theater sports out on this field, and we were doing, improv comedy and all this stuff. And I look at this kid and his eyes go huge, and he's like, "Bear." And I'm like, "Oh, this kid's great." And then I turn around and there's a black bear about 40 feet behind us. And I remember just distinctly, there's about 12 kids and about 3 leaders, counselors. And I just moved myself between the bear and the kids. And I just calmly said, I'm like, "Everyone get up, just move towards the camp. Let's get into the cabins and then we'll ring the alarm." No panic. I didn't even think anything of it. The more stressful the situation, the more calmer I become. Like I said, small, tiny things set me off. Like if you were to tell me that Derek Jeter was the greatest shortstop of all time, I would lose my mind and I would get so angry.
Good to know.
Who is the greatest shortstop of all time then?
Yeah.
Ooh, I don't know.
See, so it's not like you have one in mind and Derek Jeter is the wrong answer because there is a right answer, but it's more like just anybody, not him.
Not Jeter. No, not Jeter.
I grew up with Ozzie Smith. That dates
Ozzie
me.
Smith. Yeah, the wizard.
The wizard out there.
Yeah. I'm the rare Canadian that doesn't like hockey and follows baseball more than hockey.
I have another question.
Yes, please.
It sounds like you were married once and almost married again.
Mm-hmm.
So is a traditional marriage your ideal kind of situation? Or do you feel like if a marriage contract didn't exist in our society, you would, like, are you okay with, like, you need to get married, or would it be okay if you, sorry, I'm about to cough.
What I'm hearing is, like, do you need the traditional marriage relationship, or is, if everybody was dating in our society, would you be fine with just like, you see who you want when you want?
No, I've always been a fan. I always told everybody I love being in love, and it was very rare for most of my life to not be in a relationship. I do prefer monogamy. Right now, though, I'm really enjoying being with myself and focusing my time on my daughter. And I've realized that I don't need a partner in life to be happy. I am looking forward to being in love again and hopefully meeting somebody that I can spend a lot of time with. I just currently don't have a lot of time to give somebody, and I'm not willing to give up the time I do have because it's being filled with the things that are fulfilling me internally. So currently, the traditional marriage, I do enjoy. I really enjoy being married, and I look forward to hopefully doing that again.
Okay, thank you.
Can you talk about what your daily routine is like? Are you a type of person who is very routine, or do you like a lot of variety from day to day?
I would say kind of my week is pretty routine, but that's mostly because I think I mostly fill it with the things that I enjoy. So I do spend a lot of time, like I go to work and then I come home. I'm kind of working 2 jobs right now. I'm doing a little bit of bookkeeping as a side job to earn just a little extra money. And I spend a lot of time watching movies. I do have my own podcast as well that I've been doing for quite a while. And
what's that about?
It's about movies. Shocker.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and I'm actually a friend of mine asked me to start a new podcast with him. That is it's a video podcast, and we applied for a grant here in Canada and we got it. So we got a nice little chunk of money to work towards doing that podcast. So we have to actually start working on that fairly soon. Yeah, and then I play softball every Sunday. I try to golf when I can, and then I have my daughter every weekend. So I think while I don't feel like I have a rigid routine. I guess it looks like I kind of do, because my podcast, we record Thursdays. I have ball Sunday nights. I have my daughter every weekends. I know the nights that I have to do my prep for my podcast. So, well, it doesn't
prep for the podcast? What is that like?
Very true.
I'm kidding.
True.
We
this
put
one
in
was easy.
we put in prep.
Let me ask you, Manny, are you, where are you with like, are you clean? Are you messy? And how are you with like timekeeping? Are you someone who's always on time? Are you OCD about anything?
I don't feel like I'm OCD. I'm very personally very messy, but that is easily nipped in the bud when I have a partner that I share space with. So in the house I live in, it's just me and my daughter on the weekends. I don't have any roommates. So my room is mostly a disaster. The rest of the house where I have guests and stuff like that is kept fairly clean, but probably not as clean as it could be. I don't have a problem being in a mess, but I don't, when I have a partner, when I've had my wife live with me, or when I've had girlfriends live with me, I'm much better at staying clean because I don't want to disrespect their space. So and I'm sorry, there's another part to that question.
Just, are you a timely person, or are you late?
Yes. No, I don't consider myself to have OCD, but when it comes to a schedule, I definitely do. I always feel if I am on time, I am late. I will show up to everything early, even sometimes very early. I cannot stand being late for anything. It really bothers me. Okay.
Is that the type of thing that would make you angry if somebody showed up late?
I would feel that was very rude. Yes.
Okay. Okay. Maybe just a couple more quick questions. Is it hard for you to make changes in life, or are you like resistant to change in any way?
No, not resistant. I'm always cautious. I don't want to say fearful, because that's way too strong of a word. Change always makes me feel unsure, I guess. I'm not rigid though. I've changed a lot of things in my life. Can I? No, I can't say that. That would reveal something that we're not supposed to. I moved around a lot growing up.
It's
I moved
important to
around
know.
a lot growing up, and not even like even growing up, even throughout my life. It's only recently, actually, it's since I owned a house that I haven't moved around a lot, and all
Okay.
within my home city.
You mentioned that you didn't want to get into movies because you wanted to stay kind of in your hometown where your friends
Yes.
were. Can you kind of that versus moving around a lot, kind of which hometown or how long have you been there, or how, if you had moved around a lot, what kept you from making that move?
Oh, like when I moved, like my moving around a lot is all within my home city, which is a small town. So I was, I would move to a place that was 10 minutes away from where I was before.
Okay. Move around the same
Move
area.
around, yeah.
Okay.
I've only moved outside of my hometown for 1 year for a job. I moved to an even smaller city. I worked for a gas company. I worked for Shell, and I had to move to a small city to close down a store.
So if you're moving around to the same town, are you like finding a better place? You're like, this place is great, or I'm going to go over here, or it's a relationship based. It sounds like maybe sometimes. And
no, it was mostly there was a lot of moving around when I was younger, and then when I moved out on my own, I would move in with a friend, and then they would get a girlfriend and move in with a girlfriend, and so I would need to find a new place. And then a couple of moves I had, pardon me, a couple of moves I had were I had some friends that were again, this is all when I was still a little bit younger. They were still living with their parents, and their parents were going away on a long trip. Like as an example, one of my best friends at the time, Monica, her parents were going to Europe for like half a year, and they wanted somebody to stay with Monica that they felt safe with, and they didn't want it to be her boyfriend because they felt that was a little inappropriate, even though those two did get married and are still married to this day. But Monica was one of my best friends, and I had a great relationship with their parents, and so they felt a lot better if I was staying there. So I lived in a very, very nice house for 6 months for free. So I had that a few times, is that I was kind of moving around out of convenience, more the thing. And then, yeah. I think one of the things that I noticed when I was growing up is when I made the decision to not drink, it actually gave me and my friend group a lot more freedom with parents, because they always felt safe when we were teenagers, and then in our earlier years when we would go partying, all of my friends' parents felt safe knowing that their kids were always going to get home because Manny was there. So I was always the designated driver. I always made sure everyone got home. When we were young in our teenage years, all the parents probably let us stay out a little bit later than they would normally because they valued my responsibility. So, yeah.
How sensitive are you? What are the type of things that maybe would move you to tears?
Mostly, most of the time I cry now, it's because of movies. But since becoming a father, obviously anything parental child in a movie or anything like that affects me deeply. In movies, anything regarding friendship affects me very deeply because I really cherish the friendships that I have. So movies that celebrate that or really highlight that affect me deeply. I don't, in my day-to-day life, I don't feel that I have anything that gets me very emotional. But when it comes to film, that art form really touches me deeply.
Okay. And so you're not someone who when you say that, do these films make you cry, or?
Oh yeah, I cry a lot.
Okay. Okay.
Astrologers, are we leaning strongly towards one or the other? How are you feeling?
I'm leaning a certain way, but like I'm trying to do due diligence to double check myself and make sure that there's there's some overlap, of course, Scott.
Yep. Smoke's coming out a little bit.
Oh boy. Getting a workout.
Yeah.
But any questions that would help you split that or notice that difference? Yeah,
perhaps. Maybe Erin and I could talk about it. And then if we have any like tiebreaker questions, we can, fit those
in. Yeah. This is where we always go to they can have their private little huddle.
Oh, for sure.
And to talk it over. And Manny, I'll put you out in the waiting room for 5, maybe 10 minutes. And then we'll bring you back in to see what they've decided and see if they're right. And we may have a tiebreaker question for you.
Excellent. If there's.
All right. We'll see you back here soon.
Sounds good.
Okay, astrologers, let's see. First of all, if you're leaning in the same direction.
Yeah. Well, when I looked at the survey and even throughout the interview, I have been leaning towards the Capricorn.
Me too.
Yeah. However, you have to be careful because, so the Capricorn, I'm really trying to like gauge this sensitivity piece because, our Capricorn person, they were born under a new moon, which can be a sign. It's similar to like a Cancer energy, whereas in the other chart, we do have a Cancer rising. Back to our Capricorn chart, we also have the North Node conjunct Neptune, which is when he said, I'm obsessed with movies, he used another word. He said, not just obsessed, but I have to look back through my notes, but when you have a planet conjunct the North Node, and so Neptune ruling movies, film industry, the arts, he used the word escape. Neptune is also escapism. And so the North Node, when you have a planet on there, that's going to like really magnetize that, blow that up. You're moving toward that energy. So that really spoke to me. But, would a Cancer rising chart, I don't know. I don't know. I'm not so many things that he said were jumping out to me in the Capricorn chart, but
I agree. I think when he talked about not drinking, that sounded like Neptune on the North Node, because the North Node you're not comfortable with.
Oh, okay.
Not that we all need to become comfortable with blackout drinking or anything like that, but you can be nervous around things on the North Node because they opposed you in your last life. And so it could definitely look like I'm just not comfortable with it.
Yeah. Well, and he talked so much about responsibility from a young age. To me, that really resonated with this Capricorn energy. The other chart, the Sagittarian chart, the only piece, the only placement, Saturn and Leo, I guess, can also be someone who feels like they need to be very responsible. But I don't know. That he just felt more Capricorn in that way.
When he talked about how depression snuck up on him.
Yeah.
And he kind of never really identified what it was. He just kind of used practicality to move through it. He didn't hold on and ruminate a ton about it. It was more like this thing kind of happened. I don't really know why. We solved it. We made a plan. We solved it. We moved forward. That feels Capricorn to me, instead of the holding on of Cancer. And the true deep dive into what's happening internally. It sounds more like, for Capricorn, I've read the term repressed depression. So you're depressed, but you don't know it. And someone else points it out. And that sounds so much like his story.
Yeah.
And also the story about his mother left him with the house, and he saw that as a responsibility as a teenager.
Yes. Yeah.
And that stood out to me, as well as other parents feeling safe with their kids out with him as a teenager.
Yeah.
Feels very Capricornian to me instead of Sag.
Yes, I totally agree. And then a couple other things I noticed is like he said tanning salon. Well, the Capricorn chart has Taurus 10th house, which is can be like those things that are pleasing. Also Leo rising, the sun, tanning. And then the water stuff. I mean, the Sagittarius chart has a Pisces midheaven. However, if you think about it as resources, you know, that's a Taurus 10th house. And he talked about being, the only thing that's not sitting right with me, or I'm not understanding, is this Capricorn chart has Pluto like exact on the IC in the third house, in the third house of siblings. So that could be like Pluto brings extremes. So maybe that's, I don't know, but there just seems to be some people usually who have a fourth house Scorpio or Pluto on the IC. There's usually some painful stories around home and family. But it can manifest in different ways on those topics. So I don't know. That's throwing me a little.
Yeah, I agree. I was listening for that. He said that he moved a lot.
True.
And so Uranus fourth house.
Yes.
Could go with that. It's possible that he had a Plutonian. It's in the Cap chart. I don't know if we count nodes in a trine, right? In a grand trine. We could talk about that later for fun. But that Pluto is part of a grand trine. So, and it could, maybe he had a Plutonic sister, right? Where maybe they told him the truth. Maybe they were willing to confront him about things in a way that he appreciated. Right? Like Pluto, I mean, I have a lot of Pluto. I like to think it can be a force for good sometimes. And that if you have a strong Pluto placement, maybe you have a really Plutonic person who is willing to, set you back on the right path if you need it. Or like not have any elephants in the room. Like, we're going there, grab hands, we're going, come along. Yeah, I mean, if it wasn't for that Cancer rise, Scott, because there's so much Cancer feel that.
You let me know if you want me to make the case for one or the other, if you want me to talk you in or out of anything. I know just enough astrology to try and be like, well, he did say this, so that matches what you want to have. Yeah,
talk to me about that traditional marriage.
Yeah.
So wait, the fact that he wants a traditional marriage is working against what you're thinking?
It's going against the Cap because that person has Aquarius 7th house. Generally, Aquarius doesn't want to do the traditional thing. They're like, I mean, we can cohabitate. It's not necessarily like monogamy versus poly. It's more like, if we put a contract on this, now it's stale and yucky, right?
Yeah.
Now it's like society telling us what to do instead of we're not free anymore.
Well, if I'm arguing about that, I would say he's not currently in that traditional relationship. He has a child. He's getting that fulfillment as a parent. He has this friendship with his ex-wife, and he's not in a hurry to get into a traditional relationship. In a lot of ways, he's getting many of the benefits that you would get from a relationship without having to be in this, monogamous married life, even if that's what he's looking for.
Yeah. And
what else do you need?
Let me give the real answer. No, but you know what?
A for effort, though, right?
Yes, of course. Always.
Yeah, sure.
And so what I would say is, yes, Aquarius, Leo risings, they have Aquarius on the 7th house. They typically want a lot of freedom in their relationship, and it's hard for them to like settle down. But in the case of this Capricorn chart, Venus, it's a night chart. So Venus is like your best planet you got going for you is in the 7th house, pretty close to that descendant. So that can mitigate that energy, and so, and then the Saturn, the ruler of the 7th house, is in the 12th. So you would expect possibly an ending to that marriage, though it was great.
Yeah.
So.
And Leo is really focused on family, right? So if you have a Leo rise, just because you have an Aquarius 7th house doesn't necessarily negate how much family is going to mean to you.
Yeah. And so, because Capricorn, and Leo, I mean, so like the Cancer rising, it's like they do really want a family and to be a part of something. And so I was hearing that from him, but that was making me nervous. But
it's super confusing because of that 11th house South Node.
Yeah, in both of them.
Yeah, right. So I'm listening for Gemini Taurus differences, and I don't know if this is a part of the podcast people can hear. I don't know if...
Yes. Oh, this is part of the audience getting to hear kind of behind the scenes and what you guys are working through, because they may be working through the same questions.
Well, I don't want to jump into some negative stereotypes and be flippant about that. But sometimes Geminis can be known for being messy in the house. Like little tornadoes, pile makers. I love you, Geminis.
I hope we're going to get some mail about this one.
With my parents, I swear, I really do love all the signs, but I'm like, all right, so, Gemini South Node could be messy in the house.
Maybe a good question would be like, what is your relationship with things? Like, are you do you have any sentimental attachment to things? Because Cancer rising with South Node in Taurus, you would think that they could have, maybe also that Saturn in the 2nd, you could think that maybe it's hard for them to let go of stuff, especially South Node in Taurus. Like, there is a hoarding tendency in worst cases.
Second house Saturn too.
Yeah.
I've seen that. Yeah.
I would say maybe we can ask him about does he have sentimental attachment to things? And then one question we could ask, I don't know if this will be revealing or not, but fears or phobias, because sometimes that'll illuminate the 8th house,
What are we looking at in the 8th houses that would illuminate?
Yeah, I'm trying to sometimes it's like I can see the energy and you just got to hear what story matches it. But we've got the Capricorn.
Not bears. We know he's not scared of bears.
Yeah. See, that was the other thing is like Capricorn moons are notoriously stoic in you need traditional astrology says it's, Capricorn is where the moon is in its detriment. Like it's, so you have a hard time connecting with your emotions, but you're excellent in a crisis. You can just embody Aquarius moon. Maybe I'm just not as sure what that's like.
I don't know that I've been hearing Aquarius moon, honestly.
Yeah. But as far as fears and phobias, the, Sagittarius person has Aquarius in the 8th with Aquarius moon. I'm trying to think what that would be. Maybe fear of electrocution. I don't know, or the moon related things. And then, because our guest last time, she had a fear of drowning and she had Cancer and she had the moon conjunct Jupiter in Cancer in the 8th. And, that just was like hit the nail right on the head. This Capricorn chart has Pisces and Jupiter in the 8th house. So there could be another fear around water potentially. So anyway, I might want to ask about fears and phobias and attachment to things. Fears
and phobias, attachment to things. And we'll know if we're looking at the Sagittarius or the Capricorn. Hopefully you guys are having fun at home. Maybe some of you are leaning heavily one way, and you're like, what are they even worried about? It's so obvious.
That's my fear, is that people are like, you idiot.
Well, yeah, but then they could
yeah,
but then they could be wrong here in a few minutes. So don't be too confident out there, audience.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's find out right after this break the answers to those two deciding questions, and we'll see who's right after this. Welcome back, everybody. We are once again joined by Manny. Our astrologers just had a nice little chit chat, and it sounded like they were leaning in one direction, but they did have a couple extra questions that they wanted to bring in, which might sway them or not. Who knows? Astrologers, you have the microphone.
Okay, Manny. Just real quick, we wanted to know if you have any fears or phobias.
The only fear I had growing up was just of needles.
Needles?
Needles, yeah. I never liked getting vaccination shots. It was a little bit of a fear growing up. As I got older, the fear somewhat went away. I still get very nervous when I have to do it, and I'm fine. I always warn the nurses that, because one time when I was I had to get some blood work done, they went to put the needle in me and I got very lightheaded. And I thought, I was like, I might faint. And so she had to stop, and then I had to lay down, and then they could do it. And I never passed out, but I definitely felt it close. But it's not a crippling fear. I just start to get very nervous.
It doesn't keep you from getting blood drawn, but it is not.
No, it is it's never prevented me from doing anything. Just,
is it an association with like the pain of a needle or something else?
It's actually it's a small childhood trauma. When I was younger, getting a vaccination shot, I think around grade 2, grade 3. I can't remember exactly what age I was. Definitely early elementary schools. They would paint a little animal on your arm, and then they would say they're going to feed the bunny, and they would feed the bunny with the shot. My nurse painted the bunny, and then she held it like this and stabbed me with it, and then used the gun. So that's always in my mind when I was younger. And so it just kind of, I think as time went by, because I was healthy and I didn't need a lot of shots. So anytime I had to get one, I would go back to that one memory. So I think it just grew from there. But like I said,
don't stab the bunny.
Don't stab the bunny. But yeah, it's never been, it's never prevented me from doing anything. And I always tell them, I'm like, I will cry one little tear when they give me the shot. And I'm totally fine. But there was one time I felt I might pass out. The rest of the time, I'm I'm really good if someone will just hold my hand while I'm getting a shot. So a lot of times if I have to get blood work done and I have somebody with me, I'm like, will you come in and just hold my hand?
I was like, usually the nurse or the person doing it probably doesn't want to tie up their hand while they're delivering a shot. Yes, that's an awkward thing to ask too.
I had to get, I did have a hernia in life, and I had to go get a surgery. It wasn't a big deal, but I had to be put under, and I asked them, I'm like, are you going to give me an injection, or are you going to give me the gas? And the nurse was like, well, we're going to give you an injection. I told her, I'm like, I'm really nervous about it. I said, I'm like, would you hold my hand while they do it? And she's like, of course. So it was on this arm. So she's holding this hand. And then she's like, just look at me. She's like, you just count backwards from 10. She's like, you won't even get to 5. And I'm like, okay. And I'm just holding her hand, look at her. And she was so sweet. She was holding it with both hands and looking right in the eyes. She was really adorable. And yeah, I didn't get to 5. I got to 7, and I was out cold.
Okay, a hernia is exactly the type of thing we want to know about.
I apologize. Yeah.
I'm like, okay, and tell me exactly what a hernia is, because I don't actually know.
Okay, so I don't know the differences between the types of hernias, so I can explain mine, and I apologize if this is graphic or gross. My hernia is just a little on the left side of my groin. And what had happened was the muscles and the tendons, there had been a little rip. And what was happening was my fat was leaking between it and had developed this little bump right to the left of my nether region. And so I was getting this bump, and over time, it started to grow and grow, and it was never a discomfort. It never hurt, never caused me any pain. It never prevented me from doing anything. But it was, as it went by and I never did anything about it, it became a little unsightly to have an extra bump down there. And so I finally decided, I'm like, I should probably go see what this is about. And yeah, my doctor said, it's not a big deal. It's just this, I don't even remember what kind of hernia it is. It was a in and out procedure. I went in one day and I was out the same after my recovery. Recovery at home took about 2 days. But I couldn't play sports for about 2 months. At least that's what they recommended. I definitely went back early.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. That's interesting. All right. And also we wanted to ask, are you the type of person that gets has sentimental feelings about objects or, things? Are you a sentimental person?
Yes. Extremely. Yeah.
Okay.
Very.
And have you ever, even just in a little way, are you kind of a hoarder or pack rat?
Yes.
Interesting. Okay. Okay. And final question from me is, what is your philosophy on life?
Ooh.
If you have one. If someone said, just what's your best advice that you give people or yourself?
To not really take things for granted. I think the main thing, my philosophy in life is to make sure that the important people spend more time focusing on the positive people in your life than worrying about the negative people in your life. Make sure that the people that you care about and the people that you love, that you recognize their contributions to you instead of focusing on the people that are negative. Spend more time focusing on the positive energy and the positive things in your life than on the negative. Enjoy your life. You only have one, so live it. And try not to waste too much time on negativity. Focus more on positivity.
Okay, well, based on your answers, this is kind of opening a can of worms. So I'm just coming up with a couple more questions. Were you shy growing up?
No.
Okay. Not at all.
No.
I mean, now when on your intake form or your survey, you said that how would you do in a room full of people you didn't know? And you said 6 out of 10, I believe.
Yeah, 6 out of 10. I don't have problems talking to people I don't know. I'm growing up, I was extremely extroverted. As I have matured, I've actually toned it back a little bit. And I found that I used to crave being the center of attention. And while I no longer crave it, I still do like the attention. Hence, I made a podcast so I can talk.
Hence, you agreed to come on our podcast.
And I agreed to come on your podcast. But when it comes to being in large crowds, because for a lot of people, when you're around the people you feel a lot more safe to be yourself. I have, as a lot of people do, but I have a very dark and twisted sense of humor that I know with the wrong people can offend, and I don't mean to offend them, nor do I want to offend them. So in a large group of people, I like to just take a moment to gauge and observe people to understand what they're into, what they're like, how far can I go with saying things? Because while I do like to push the boundaries with comments and stuff just to get a reaction, I don't truly feel the way about the things that I say, but I do like to get the reactions. But at the same time, I don't want to hurt somebody's feelings. and I don't want to offend somebody. So when it comes to large groups, I do engage and talk like that, but I do like to observe a lot to see to try and get a handle or a reading on some people, so I can assess what I can or cannot say. Also to assess what interests them and what doesn't. Because if I'm not one much to talk, I don't, there are subjects that I just won't have much desire to talk about. And if that appears to be what they're focused on, I'm like, well, I'll just keep my distance a little bit. I don't have much desire to waste my time or theirs or anything like that. So, but once I know somebody, it's an open book.
Okay. And it sounded like, I mean, you had really positive things to say about your parents. But did you ever fear, even deep down, that maybe your parent, like, did you worry, like, do my parents love me enough? Or did you have any fears around that?
No, my both my parents always made it abundantly clear their affection for me. I never felt any lack of love from my parents growing up.
Okay. Did you ever feel, so when you had your daughter, did you ever feel like maybe I'm not ready to be a father, or were you like definitely ready?
I was definitely ready.
Okay.
Yeah. And I wanted a daughter, so I was excited when I got one, because we didn't learn beforehand.
Okay. And are you very protective of your loved ones?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Well, I think I'm still in the same spot, but it's
That was confusing.
It was confusing. There was definitely some couple of things that now I'm unsure.
That's why we do the show. There's going to be overlap. How much overlap is there going to be between this chart matching your personality and your history and your versus this other birth chart?
Yeah.
Of this imaginary person who was born at a different day. And all that stuff. So that's always fun to see, even before we know if they get the right one. But we are rounding out the episode if we were going to choose one.
Yeah, I guess, yeah. Can't get them all, but, you know, sometimes it's hard. But I will just say this is always a very educational show, and it has taught me a lot. So, yeah. Well, are you sticking, Erin, with your guess?
Yes, I'm going to stick with what we said.
Okay. I think I will too. But yeah, we'll see. All right, Manny, Here we go. Are you?
Wait, we were choosing between.
Let me tell you what we're choosing between, and then I'll ask you which one we think. We're choosing between a Sagittarius and a Capricorn.
Okay.
Manny, are you a Capricorn?
No.
Oh! We always have to ask ahead of time to make sure one of those two is you.
Yeah.
Because if we were to say, Manny, we're choosing between a Leo and Aquarius, you would raise your hand and say, I think we have a problem.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. This is definitely like those last couple of answers threw me through a loop. So,
boy. Well, that's exactly why we have another episode, bonus episode over on Patreon, where we discuss, now that you know, what went into the decision and what you see in the correct chart. But before we go, Manny, can you tell us where that people can find your podcast, or any places that you want to send listeners?
Yeah, for sure. Thank you. So yeah, I'm right now I'm currently one of the co-hosts on the Samuel and Manuel Movie Podcast. We do a podcast on movies, shockingly. We have been working through, we take a year and we go through each significant film from that year, usually the highest grossing film, all the best picture winners, and then usually we also review the Razzie for worst picture winner. My co-host Sam, it's okay for me to reveal ages now that we're
100%. Yes. Okay. It's all out in the open.
My co-host Sam is 24 years younger than me. So we have a generational distance between us, which is what makes it fun. So I kind of select the movies that we do to kind of introduce him to ones that he missed when he was young. We're currently covering the year 1998 for the podcast, and then we're moving forward in time. You can find our podcast on Spotify and iTunes. And yeah, that's podcast is one of the things that brings me so much joy, as I'm sure you guys are aware. You guys have a very interesting and very entertaining podcast. I've absolutely loved being on it. I truly appreciate the chance to come on here.
Oh, thank you. And Erin, please let our audience know where they can find you and get a reading.
If you'd like a reading, I do evolutionary astrology based on self-acceptance, working towards self-celebration, and it's at erinstarkastrology.com.
Awesome.
All right. Well, we're going to head over to the debrief. So if you just finished this episode, you can go over to Patreon and listen to more of it as we break it down. But for now, that's it, everyone. Let us know what you thought by commenting on whatever platform you follow us on. Links to our accounts are in the show notes. If you like the show and you want to support it, you can visit patreon.com/AstroDetectives. Don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcast platform so you don't miss the next episode. Rate and review and tell your friends. And until next time, this case is closed.